Was it by fate? Two hearts came together, two souls found a mate. He knew from the first time he looked in her eyes.
Yeah, so let's roll back. I'm really curious to know about your upbringing, and your life and your influences when you're a young lad growing up. And I'm assuming you grew up in Georgia. Are you
Yeah, I
like,
grew up in a little town that's now part of Metro Atlanta. In fact, uh, town was founded in the late mid-late 1800s by a dentist named Dr. Hape, Hape. So the
oh,
town is called Hapeville. But
wow.
down here, people say hateful. Where you from? Hateful. Yeah. What
Yeah.
kind of town is named Hateful? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I grew up there. It's really a very tight-knit, small community. I guess in 1960, there were about 10,000 residents.
Oh,
And, Atlanta was 70,000, and it
wow.
was pretty far up the road. There were no interstates at that time or anything.
Wow.
And the airport, which is really the reason Atlanta is what it is, began to expand, and they actually took the campus of the Georgia Baptist Children's Home and at least half of the area of my town, Hapeville, in the expansion of the airport. So if you come to
Mm.
land in Atlanta Airport, the first town you're going to ride through as you go toward Atlanta is Hapeville.
Okay.
So, but it was a wonderful upbringing. My parents were wonderful people, no vices whatsoever. My dad flew in World War II, a bomber in Europe. And so when he got done with that, instead of going back to Bessemer and working in the steel mines like his or steel factories like his brothers and all did, he decided to apply at the airline. So he flew for Eastern Airlines for 30 years after that.
Wow. Wow.
And the fact that my parents literally had no vices. They spent
Wow.
money on anything. I mean, we had a nice house, and we always had a couple of cars that
Yeah.
which was pretty well off for people in Hapeville at the time.
Yeah.
But it was a very
Did that translate to you also in your, the way
I
that you
had
lived your life? Was that your example for
no, I'm a hedonist and a substance abuser. And, it's womanizer,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
keep going.
Well, AKA a musician.
Exactly. Or name your profession. I mean, president, could be whatever. But I never got in any real trouble with anything. And it was really odd that my parents, there's a picture of my brother sitting at a piano, and my sister, she took dance and piano too. And both of them hated it.
Hmm.
They absolutely hated it. And I was probably 7, maybe 8, when my dad and I were just in a car riding somewhere, and he was listening, I think, to Chet Atkins. And he says, "Man, if you could play guitar like that." And I said, "Well, I'll give it a try." And
Wow.
he bought me this plastic bodied guitar and set me up with lessons at this place in Hapeville called the Band Box. And I can't remember the lady's name that was the teacher there, but she wanted to teach me scales and fingering things and stuff. I said,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. I want to learn how to play songs. I don't
Wow.
want
Oh
that
my
stuff. I don't
gosh.
need that stuff.
And how old were you at this time?
8, maybe 8.
Wow.
So I kept the guitar, um, but never really played it until maybe I was 11 or so. And a fella at our church was giving guitar lessons. And Darwin,
Yeah.
who grew up in Hapeville as well,
Yeah.
was we were trying to figure out the other day, did we meet in Cub Scouts? Did we meet in, where did we meet exactly? We went to different elementary schools. So they had 3 in Haple at the time. Now they don't have any because it's been just gobbled up. But so this guy's name was Bob Garrigou, and he would print out, those rolling
Oh
mimeograph things
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
of current songs, folk
Right.
songs, maybe a Beatles song here and there, whatever. And it would have the chord names above it. So every week we would go and he would teach us new chords that went with the songs. And some of us picked it up really quick and, were able to pick out songs on our own once we knew the 1/4 and the 5 and the 2 minor and the 6 minor. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
wow. All these songs have the same chords in them.
Right. Right.
But so we did that, and then we sang in the group where we were, playing and stuff. And somehow or another, a fella in the high school, everybody wanted to be in a band back then. I mean, that's what it was. A fella in the high school called me up and said, I heard that you can sing. I guess, I'm like 13, 14, just got into high school.
Right.
He says, I hear you could sing. And yeah, okay. Well, look, our keyboard player's mother said he can't be in the band anymore. Can you play keyboards? And I said, yeah, I can play keyboards. So for the first time, I went and sat down at the piano in our living room and worked out the chords to a couple of grand funk songs and the things that they were playing at the time, and went over there and bluffed my way in using that other guy's keyboard to this band. The band wasn't any good, but Darwin was in the band.
Oh,
And
so you figured this out by ear. So you were at this time, you were just like hammering it out by using your ear.
I don't understand why everybody can't do it.
That's awesome.
My kids can't do it.
Wow.
And I tried to get them to do it. I sat down with them and said, okay, look, this note and this note, they're the same note. You can hear that, can't you? Look, they go up, they're all the same note. Yeah. And look, here's a chord 1 3 5. You can go 3 5 1. It's the same chord. Do you see that? They don't. I say, and most songs do this one little pattern right here: 1 3 or 1 4 5 1 4 5.
Yeah.
Classical songs do that. All music basically does that.
Yep.
They didn't get it.
Wow.
But for me, it was easy.
Wow.
And that band really didn't do anything or go anywhere. But my dad, bless his heart, he bought me a little Farfisa combo compact organ.
Oh, wow.
And I was able to kind of bluff my way around in and out of little groups along the way. And finally, Darwin and a couple of guys that were a little older than him started a band that was a real band. I mean, they actually played and performed and stuff.
And Darwin, was he prominently on guitar?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he was I wouldn't call him a savant, but he's really good at it, and he knows it, which was one of the drawbacks, for me for years. But they had a real band, and I was a high school athlete. I played quarterback and whatever position I needed to play in basketball, and I was a center fielder and a pitcher and a number 3 batter on the baseball team, which sounds pretty good, but you got to remember my graduating class. The total in my graduating class in high school was 62 people in a public school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, if you're any good at anything, you
wore a lot of hats. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and that sort of took up all my time. So I really wasn't able to like be in that band, or even if they'd have had me. Occasionally I would go with them and to gigs and sing some songs with them and things like that. But I was never really a member of that band. And then I went to college, and I went to a small college.
What did you study? Yeah. What did you study then?
Psychology major.
Oh, really?
That was like the second easiest major at the school.
Well, but that's not why you chose it, though, Tim. I'm sure.
That's why I chose it. Because I was out of my league there, I'll tell you what. A lot of smart people up there. And luckily, I met my wife there, and she's very smart, and she supports me in the way I've become accustomed. I love her for that.
Was she was also a psychology major?
Oh no, she was a math major.
Oh,
who went on to be second in her class at Emory Law School and was hired right away by Coca-Cola in a program that doesn't exist anymore. Most corporate lawyers are people who either decided they don't want the rat race in a firm, or they didn't make partner, and they have a certain expertise that can be used by whatever corporation that they, they headhunters and all this kind of crap. But she was hired right out of college and put into a training program in Coke, and she stayed with Coke for 30 years.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
It's been really good. And when we had our first child I was 30 when we had our first child, and we sat down. She's really good with lists. We sat down with lists and we made a comparison of, so if I kept working at my job, I was a credit manager at Lowe's. If I kept working at my job, what would we do with the child? Daycare, nanny, au pair, what were we going to do? And when we put it all down and crunched the numbers, the thing that made the most, and I was working at the time, I was working in, I was working in a cover band at the time that was, in those days, when you say you worked, the clubs, 18 was the drinking age. So there was a lot more people that would go out to clubs and things, young people. And it worked. There was a string of clubs called Carlos McGee's in Atlanta. They had 5 or 6 different bars around the perimeter and in Buckhead in the downtown bar. And if you got into that circuit, you basically could work pretty much nonstop. And it was 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday.
Oh, wow.
So that was really hard on me,
Yeah.
keep having a day job and doing that. So when we sat down, it says, hey, if I quit my day job, I could be with the kid in the day. You could be with the kid at night, and I could still play in the band.
Wow.
So that's what we did. And I guess I tell people I retired at 30.
Wow.
I really did. So
yeah, because daycare is so expensive.
I mean, even back then,
it's crazy.
And you don't know the person that's raising your child.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and you lose out on spending time with the child. Was because I did a little research on your bio, which, by the way, was really fascinating. I was captivated by your write-up on your website. That the story and the progression of everything, it was very touching reading it. Also, especially about
there's a book.
Yeah, I was going to let every people know. I'm going to put a link in the description of our interview here, so people can get a hold of that. But Rachel is your firstborn. Yeah, yeah. Well, and we'll talk about that too, because I'm fascinated by both her and Sammie and what they have done and all of that. But continue. So now you are doing music full time.
Yes. And it was in all these bands. When I got out of college, I immediately gravitated toward Darwin, who was kind of between things then. And a friend of ours that was also from our high school had some really, I mean, everybody says it, but this close to really, really making it a big splash with a band called Carrie Nation. They played the same club where Jimmy Buffett got his start, and a couple of other local bands that went on to get this close, making it. But anyway, he had moved to California with the band, and I don't know why, I don't know the details, but he ended up coming back. The band disbanded. The lead singer of the band went on and got a deal and had some stuff on the radio and all, which is kind of cool. But this guy's name was Marty Bone. He came back to Atlanta, and somehow or another, we convinced him that we were the right people to continue his original musical, progression career, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was good. We had some good players in there. We wrote some good songs. But there's, I'll tell you later on, but I learned some things that if I'd have known them then, I'd have not have wasted my time. But the band did well, but we lost 2 of our members who had come up from South Georgia, to make it with this band. And we were, it doesn't happen overnight, and these guys were kind of antsy and didn't have any money. And so we decided, you know what we'll do? We can go play some clubs and do some cover stuff. We'll work in an original here and there, and this, that, and the other. And that's the death knell of an original band, is to say, we got to have money, we got to pay people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that ended up busting pretty bad.
Mhm.
And but I went on to actually answered an ad in Not True. Marty answered an ad in a local newspaper to go audition for a band that was an all original band here in Atlanta, and they didn't want him, but because he's a guitar player, and the other guitar guy, the leader of the band, was a guitar player.
Oh,
But they needed a keyboard player and a singer, and Marty told them about me, and I went and got in with him, and it was cool. We got along pretty good. And
how did Marty take it when
I was all right. He was
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy, his name's Gary Lamuti, was one of the most talented people I've ever known. He is a wonderful artist, a painter. I mean, he's in Ireland now doing, frescoes for churches.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's really, really talented, and a great guitar player and a great writer. All that's in the book. If I could talk hours on it,
Yeah.
But I was with Gary for a couple of years. We sort of brushed with success. I have a very close friend, probably might even say my best friend, who's agent in Nashville for creative artists.
Mhm.
And he opened doors for me in many, many different ways, which I'll get to the end of the story in a minute and tell you why. If I knew what I knew now, then I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But we actually went to New York and I went to New York with a demo tape that had played for, who's the drummer for the Police?
Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland. Ian Copeland was
his brother,
IRS.
He's the big manager and all of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
And so I was John's friend. John worked for Ian.
Yeah.
In fact, he and Ian moved from Macon, Georgia, to New York and opened an agency in an apartment, with the sole purpose of having his brother's band, who had made a little splash in England, come and do colleges in the States. And the rest of it, John, my friend, is now like the head of creative artists in Nashville. If he saw this, he would say, "I'm not the head," but he's been there. He started the office there. And
my gosh! Wow!
2-man operation to,
Oh yeah! My gosh!
Whatever. It's a big deal. Anyways, Ian heard the tape, and we were in Ian's office. He played the tape and he stopped it. I said, "Well, that was quick," And he got up, and they had a full office system that they could play music on.
Yeah.
And he got the tape up, and I thought he was going to hand it back to me. He said, "Come on." And we walked out into the hall, and he puts it in this all systems go thing, and hits it and turns it up really loud, starts parading me around the office and into these doorways and saying, "This is our next big star right here." And I'm like, "Holy shit. Holy shit."
Oh my
And then
God.
that night we went to dinner with Neil Sean and
get out of here.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was like the craziest thing. And we went to this show and at the Palladium that was called Guitar Greats with David, what's his name from Pink Floyd,
Gilmore.
David Gilmore, Dickie Betts, and Brian Setzer, and all these people. And it was just a big party, and it was a lot of, crazy stuff going on. And, I asked John, what's going to happen, what's going to happen? He says, "Well, we'll call you, go back to Atlanta, and I'll let you know what's going on."
And how old were you at this time, Tim? How old were you? In your 20s, 30s?
I was in my 20s.
Holy smokes!
I didn't have any children yet, and this was the band that I was in after the first band after college. So I was probably 25, 26.
Oh my gosh!
And so I come home and I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait.
Oh no, no!
And it turns out, again, if John sees this, he'll say, "That ain't what happened." But he and Ian, I didn't know it at the time, but they were having a really big clash.
Oh no.
John was in the process of leaving IRS, and he went out and got a job with ICM in LA.
Mm.
And from there, he went to Nashville and went with CAA from there. But anyway, he was leaving Ian for very strong personal reasons.
Oh
And
no.
so, being John's friend, I
You
mean, what am I going to do? Call Ian Copeland up and say, "Hey, you remember me?" Yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
So, but it's just okay. This stuff happens, and so I came back and I worked with Gary a little bit longer, and then we just parted ways. In the book, though, was an interesting
So
chapter about,
close.
yeah,
So close.
it happens to a lot of people. But
Oh,
in the book, there's an interesting chapter with Scott King, our
yeah.
bass player who passed away.
Yeah.
He crossed paths with Gary Lemuti as well,
Oh,
and so he and I had a lot to talk about. Gary had enticed him to drop everything he did and move to California because he and the guitar player from Aerosmith and one other guy who's a great singer had decided that they would do this project, and he had met Scott and he knew Scott was the right guy for the project. And when Scott got out there and knocked on Gary's door and say, "I'm here, man," he said, "Oh yeah, it's not happening."
oh no.
Because Gary couldn't stand to be in the band with another guitar player. Yeah,
Oh,
it was crazy with Scott. So he didn't have fond memories of Gary,
oh
but
man.
it was interesting that Scott and I had that common denominator. Him being from Virginia and me being from
Yeah.
Haiti.
Wow.
But so after that, I was just kind of kicking around, not doing much. And another person who was a member of that band, Carrie Nation, great guitar player and a guy that I spent a lot of time with over the years, asked me to come and jam, which I'm not a real good jammer.
AKA audition.
Not really,
Hmm.
just to meet some friends, and
Okay.
and so I went out to this guy's place in Douglasville where I played with the first rhythm section that I didn't even know what a rhythm section was until I played with these two guys.
Oh,
This
yeah.
it was
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't matter what I played.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounded great.
Yeah.
No matter what I played. I mean, we're just doing stuff. I've never heard these songs that they're doing. And,
Oh,
he's calling numbers to me, which was my first introduction to the number system.
national
The
number
guitar player's
system.
calling numbers to me. And,
Wow.
well, this is cool. Oh, whoa, and it's like all this
Yeah.
revelation and stuff. So that was Ricky Brunetti and Willie Gentry. And I ended up hanging with them for quite a while. We had again, it's the cover band, but hey man, we can do some, we'll throw some originals in. It just doesn't happen. Because the people that are there, they want to hear songs they know. They want to
Yeah.
hear songs that you made up.
You know it.
So, anyways, long story shorter, I the the band that I was in, it literally had people cherry picked out to be in other more successful bands. And it ended up that the band dissolved. And a week after the band dissolved, I got a call from one of the top bands in Atlanta, which there was a band called Loose Blues Review, which was taken sort of like on the Blues Brothers kind of kick,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
not really. I mean, just
Yeah.
just that genre of music. They weren't
Yeah.
cats and all that kind of
Two
crap.
guys out front. Yeah.
No, it was, yeah. We had three guys out front,
Okay.
but it was a really good band and got paid a lot of money to play in it. And after that, I met a writing partner, um, along with some of the people who I had played with in the band that got cherry picked. The name
Hmm.
of that band was The Limit. And so we started doing things together, writing together and stuff. And we wrote a lot of songs, for our people that want to join our Patreon. Uh,
Yeah. There you
they can
go.
go on there and they can hear like 30 or 40 songs that I've put on there already if
Oh, cool.
they want to.
Awesome.
And we started writing songs, and sometimes we write 2 or 3 songs a week. And
Wow.
yeah, and so we put together a band that we had immediate local success, meaning access to some of the larger clubs in Atlanta that, just by showing up with the demo tape. They said, yeah, come on, so we got to do that. And we entered a contest and finished second in Atlanta, Hunt for Original Music Band contest. But by the time we got in the contest, just after the contest was over, we were going to do another big showcase, and our guitar player left, went back to Florida. And so we had to replace him like on the fly. And so we're 30 years old now, and we're playing at this festival. And there's these, and we're I don't know how to describe the band. It was almost like a prog rock kind of thing, but
Oh, really?
Yeah, with catchy tunes and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But we had, we were using sequencers and all kind of stuff and that was the very early stages of that stuff.
Yeah.
And we were, we had to get all this stuff set up and working at this club where they were doing like 4 bands that night.
Oh.
So we did it, and we got up there and played, and I thought we did pretty good, but there were all these young people in the front, and they started saying, like, get these grandpas off the stage.
Oh,
No, we didn't come to see these old men. What the hell is that? Boo,
yeah.
boo. I'm like,
And you're in your 30s?
yeah.
The old guys.
Yeah. So after that kind of fizzled, I was still writing with my friend, and back to the fellow that had introduced me to Ricky and Willie. He was doing like country music, early 90s country music. And I got with him and started playing again regularly in some clubs, doing 90s country music, which is really good music. There's a lot of really good music there. Judds and Steve Warner and Vince Gill came along at that time and stuff. I mean, there's some really good music. And we were doing pretty good. And I got hired to go. I got pulled out of that band and actually ended up taking them with me to a really big country dance club in Atlanta, and worked there for 2.5 years until finally they got a call from the same guy, the guitar player. Says, "Hey man, they just called me and told me to come get our shit." Why? They're firing us, really? Yeah. Hell. So I decided then that I've been writing a lot of songs with my friend, and we said, let's change course and let's see if we can write some, country songs.
Oh.
And about the same time was when John moved to Nashville. So I had an in, and I go up to Nashville and did some showcases here in Atlanta, and got some notice and was invited up by the head of Sony Records to Nashville to talk.
Wow.
And on that same trip, I was riding with the guy at Acuff Rose, and we wrote a couple of songs that day, and they wanted to demo one of them. The guy said, come on, let's go play it for the guys. And so we went down and sat in the office and played the song for the guys. They said, oh, hell yeah, we'll demo that. Schedule it. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So then that night, I go to an open mic at one of the smaller venues in Nashville where, singer-songwriters sign up to go sing. I got up and I sang 3 songs, 2 of them from my catalog and the one that we wrote that day. And I got, fine, warm reception. And the guy that followed me blew me away.
Oh.
He was young. He was handsome.
Oh, man.
Sang like an angel. Played a song that made you laugh. Played a song that made you think. Played a song that made you cry. And it was like, holy shit. And when he was done, I walked up to talk to him, and he said, oh my God, I'm glad you stayed. Holy crap, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, I'm driving back to to Atlanta here tonight, but I'll be back in a couple of weeks. He was like, oh, give me a call, So all this time, my friend who was in Nashville had been telling me, I'm just saying this, you got to be here. If you really want this, you got to be here.
Makes sense.
What does that mean? Does that mean get a condo?
Yeah.
And
move here? Yeah.
Move here.
What are we doing? Yeah.
Kids at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I going to do? Want to move here? No. I got my writing partner. I got my studio. I got everything I need right here in Atlanta. I don't need to go to Nashville.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what he meant by that. And I'm driving home that night. I said, oh God, that's what he meant by it.
Yeah. Right.
You have to be able to take advantage
Yeah.
of these opportunities.
Hmm.
Able to take advantage of those opportunities, you know what? Has to be the number one priority in your entire existence.
Yeah.
Has to be that you want to get on that bus and you want to go from town to town
Yeah.
and you want to, and I'm driving home at night. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Wow.
I wish that I'd have realized.
Wow.
I mean, I don't have any regrets,
But that
but
was the defining moment for you. That was
oh,
the
absolutely.
fork in the road.
Absolutely. And so when, I got home, now Sammie at the time was 2 years old.
Mm.
So I get home and what am I going to do? Well, I had put together a band to play. I had a manager and I put together a band that was a really good band that was playing in country clubs, but the same thing. We were playing cover songs, throwing in originals and stuff. But it was a little different then because we could take that band and go do a showcase.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a manager. I
Yeah.
had to come home and tell the manager I didn't want to do it no more.
Wow.
He wasn't real happy about that, and I had to
Yeah.
buy out of the contract. But I had a
Wow.
good band, and I talked to them, and I said, "You guys want to keep doing it?" And I said, "Sure." So that was the beginning of the Mustangs, which was a
Oh.
long-lived uh, cover band. We still played some songs that I'd taken with me, but eventually we didn't. But we morphed into, we were not a country band. We morphed into
Right.
a real sort of event band,
Hmm.
conventions,
Right.
summer festival kind of things. We played clubs here and there, but the club scene changed so dramatically when the drinking age changed. It went from 5 nights a week to 3 nights a week to 2 nights a week. It went from, you know, I don't know how much money they were paying Lou and Lou's Blues Review for a week, but it was the first place I ever been where he gave you an envelope of cash and said you can't tell any other band members how much you made.
Wow.
So that bred a lot of contempt
Yeah.
amongst the band members. But so anyway, the Mustangs was successful for many, many years. Um, but even the market that we were in, and it really happened around uh, 09, 08, 09, and 10 when the big car companies came to Washington and wanted to get a bailout early in the first Obama administration, I believe. Uh, and so there was all this press about corporate waste and why are they flying their company jets to Washington? Who they don't need money. So all these clients that we had worked for years, Coca-Cola Enterprises.
Yep. They snip,
Uh,
snip, snip.
oh God, yeah, yeah, yeah. We had gotten this. Who was it? Maybe it wasn't Price Oil. That was a different thing. Might have been. Oh, I know. It's Alabama Power. We
Mm.
played the Alabama Auburn tailgate party for the football games for 5 years in a row.
Oh.
And it was basically, I started off asking, I think we get 8 grand to do that. That's a lot of money. Huh? So 8 grand said, sure. So the next, I said, okay,
Yeah.
we need our prices. We need 10 grand. Sure.
Yeah. Because they
Oh,
have it.
yeah, they have it. I think 15 grand we were getting to go over there.
Holy sh.
I know.
Oh
And
my God.
so they always given us, they wanted us. So they gave us a deposit real early
Mm.
in the year. And I got a call from the lady that I was dealing with over there. She says, "You can keep the deposit, I know, but we're not going to have that party this year." And
Oh
they never did
wow.
again.
Oh
So,
no.
so that was like a real blow to us because there really wasn't weddings we could do,
That
and
was a good
still could.
gig for you
Uh,
guys.
it was a
Yeah.
big deal. It was a big
Yeah.
deal. It caused people to quit and to leave. So we were replacing people and stuff, and that was about the time when Sammie was 15,
Mm.
and we had been, I mean, I knew she could sing and everything. So we had done some recordings and things of her. And she'd actually even sat in with the Mustangs before she
Oh,
sat in
and
and took our girl singing
wow.
place in the Mustangs. Because Sammie is wickedly smart and she's wickedly fast. Uh,
Mm.
she's a marvelous person. And I had we were sitting around. It's a rainy day. It's in the book. It's a rainy day, and I played some picking on the guitar, and I said, "Oh, you know what song I really like? I really like America,
Paul
the Simon and
Simon.
Garfunkel song, but I
Beautiful
really like
song.
the Yes version of it. Love that.
Oh,
But and
that's
I really did. I knew that
interesting.
one before I knew Simon and Garfunkel. But I knew Simon and Garfunkel, and I asked Sammie. I said, "Have you ever heard this song?" She said, "No." I played it for her, and she said, "Oh, that's a cool song." I said, "Well, I'm gonna go downstairs and put down a rhythm track for it, and come down and let you sing the harmony." And she did, and it was really good. I mean, that quick, she's doing it.
So she had an ear for doing harmony. This is something that came natural
Oh, she had it. She had
for
it. She was
just
singing harmony to the radio when she was 3
that's
in her
awesome.
car seat.
Because it's just kind of seems like some people are just, they're born with that. They just
Right.
they hear it. Other people couldn't put a harmony to anything.
And it
So
wasn't that she was just hearing that and doing it. I said, "Can you switch to the other part?"
yeah.
And she could switch. And she knew what was going on.
That's awesome.
She could identify melody, and she knew what
Wow.
a harmony was really
Oh
early.
my God. What a gift.
But anyway, she did
I'm
it.
sorry. Is your wife musical too?
No, no,
Oh,
but
okay.
my wife
Okay.
has well,
Okay.
a wicked memory. You know, she,
Okay.
my wife's very, very smart,
Gotcha.
and the kids luckily take after her.
Mm.
But but I got the idea of maybe Sammy. I'm not doing anything else. We don't working twice a month, maybe. We don't. You want to do something? Do something on a happy hour or something like that. I guess so. And so I got
Whatever,
to thinking even more.
whatever, Dad.
I'm not a good enough guitar player to really make this happen. I wonder what Darwin's doing.
Oh,
So I asked Darwin if he wanted to do it, and he said, yeah. So I was talking at one of the gigs we were having with Scott, our bass player, and he said, "Man, I'll do that with you. I'll do it."
wow. Was Scott working a lot at the time doing other things or
He was he was a craftsman. He worked at a pretty successful antique furniture restoration
really?
company. Right.
So,
But he had a lot of demons too. He'd be the first to tell you that he was
mm,
alcohol abuse and things like that.
oh,
Really
man,
kind of led to his death.
rough road.
But yeah, but a genuine, wonderful human being. I mean,
Amazing musician.
great
Uh,
musician, and
I,
he was the greatest gift giver I've
my
ever known.
gosh.
And he loved
Wow.
giving people gifts and seeing
Oh,
reactions and all. He was
oh,
wonderful. But anyway, so we did that, and then we had those. And I said, it'd be really cool. What if we had another really good singer? We have 4 singers, and I thought of Maggie Adams, and I said, I wonder if she'll do it.
and she was like, like from church and
Yeah, yeah,
friends.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. I'd
yeah,
had my eye on her a long time. I knew she.
yeah. Wow.
And so I approached her one morning before school at the Chick-fil-A and
I
asked her if she wanted to do it. She said, "Sure."
love it.
So we all got together, and we were right here in this room and sitting around, and I'd gotten everything tweaked up and got everybody a set of headphones. It was just me and Maggie and Sam. And I got the headphones for everybody and got them their little individual mics and stuff. And I asked them to just look over these things so you're familiar with these
Yeah.
songs. And I don't remember what the first song we did, but I had to stop. Say, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it
The
before I even heard
wheels
it.
start turning.
Oh, I just knew though that I
Oh,
wondered. The girls had been in the same youth choir in church all along, and I commend the director of the church choir, except for 1 year when she had some serious singers. I mean, she had a guy who's now uh, uh, he's a member of he was a member of Seattle Opera. I mean,
oh,
he tours. He's
serious stuff.
a
Yeah,
serious baritone,
yeah, yeah.
and a couple of other girls that went on to music colleges for classical training.
Mm,
Neither of them kept it or went into it like he did, but I understand why she had those 3 sing together every now and then.
wow, wow.
But for the most part, she puts people that can't sing with people that can sing
Mm,
because it helps build confidence of the
yep,
people that can't sing.
absolutely.
You
Great,
know,
great
so Sammie
idea.
and Maggie had never sung together in
Yeah.
groups. And it's like, why did she let them sing together? I
They're
don't
too
understand.
good.
Yeah. So, but when they sang together, I said, I knew it. I knew it.
Oh my
And I was right.
gosh.
And so we just prepared for the first job at Bella's. And the whole idea was that, okay, Sammie and Maggie, we'll do, we want to do like really heavily vocally oriented songs. We're not going to go up there and do Allman Brothers jams or anything.
Right.
We're going to do vocally oriented songs. So we'll do one from your generation and one from our generation. One from your
So
generation, from our
this is
generation.
something that you had already thought about from the very beginning, because in almost every single reaction video I've done, I talk about your vocals.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't help it. I
That's the whole
can't.
reason we did it.
It is so incredible hearing the amount of attention that you guys put into the backing vocals. Just for one, the leads are always great. The lead vocals always great, but the backing vocals get me every single time because they are as important as anything else in the song, maybe even more important in some cases. But it's fascinating to hear you say that this was something that you had already thought about
Sure.
in the very beginning of this.
And the coolest thing is Sammie and Maggie are sort of interchangeable parts. They
Oh,
both can, they
yeah.
could both sing alto, and they both can kind of fake mezzo soprano.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Neither of them are like,
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
but
Yep.
they've got good natural voices
Yeah.
that go to the, above tenor.
Yeah.
And then they can sing alto. And then I, at the time, back in the day, was a pure tenor, and Dar was a pure baritone.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the various,
Yep.
areas covered.
Yep.
And so Darwin only played the first year with us, and then for multiple reasons had to leave, and we brought Toby in. But
Okay.
we still had Scott could sing. I mean, I wouldn't start a band based on Scott's lead vocal, and
Mm-hmm.
he would agree. But
Mm-hmm.
he could sing. I mean, it wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're when you're forming bands and stuff, you ask people, can they sing? They say, yeah, man, I can sing.
Yeah.
Can you sing harmony? Yeah, you show me how, I can do it.
Yeah.
And it's compromising men singing in their falsetto and stuff and not doing a really good job.
Right.
But we had it covered with those girls.
Yeah.
A lot of times initially they would sing the same part, which gave it just this, depth of
Oh.
almost like a choir. You hear a
Yeah.
choir, you hear five ladies singing the same
Yeah.
thing.
Fullness. Yeah.
Really good. And then when we parted ways for a while with Maggie, just because she was in college, she was
Yeah.
doing a hostess job at a restaurant and also doing an internship during the summer. So first summer she didn't come home from college.
Oh.
So she was driving. We didn't get paid much for the jobs we were doing at the Twisted Taco and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so we could pay them 75 a piece,
Mhm.
for that. She's driving all the way from Nashville.
Yeah. For a $75
And
gig.
I'm thinking, well, she could say she didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
but also, how bad would I feel if she had a wreck? It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I had a talk with her after that first summer of her driving back and forth, and we agreed, that it was probably time just
Yeah.
to stop. And then
Yeah.
Scott and I went in support of the girl that was singing lead with us in the Mustangs at the time. She's a music teacher at a
Mm.
private Christian school north of Atlanta, and she has like a showcase for her best students.
Mm.
She does like a review of
Yeah.
variety of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they pick songs. There's a theme, but there's not one composer. They pick songs from an era or
Okay.
something to go with the theme of it, And so we go up there and we supporting her, and like the first person that sings is this big, tall girl with her hair done up, beautiful stuff and everything. And I mean, she's 6 feet tall. She's a big girl.
Uh-huh.
And she gets up and she just belts out this song. I don't remember the song, but it was just like, good Lord, that girl can sing.
And this was the first time that you saw Chase? This is
Yeah,
the first,
yeah, the
your
first time I
first.
ever knew who she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And so I went to talk to Amy, the teacher, afterward, and I said, "Where's that girl going to college next year?" She said, "Oh no, she's a freshman." I said, "You're kidding me." So that winter we were doing a Christmas party, and Scott and I were talking about how it's just too bad that we're gonna have to
Mhm.
cut the
Yeah.
tie with the Foxes and Fossils thing. And he says, "What about that girl we saw with singing for Amy?"
God.
Yeah, what about that? So we called up her parents, who happened to both have been cruise ship musicians.
Oh.
And so when we told them, that we wanted to talk to Chase and see if she wanted to do it, they were all for it.
Oh, wow.
They had seen some of our videos, online and stuff, and they were all for it.
Had
And
Chase seen you guys online? Did she
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah,
the
yeah.
group?
She knew
Okay.
about it. But she was
Okay.
very excited about it too.
Wow.
And I've been around a long time, and I've seen people that are really good, and I've never seen anybody
Yeah.
close to her.
Yep. Yep.
And for the life of me, I don't know why she's still here doing this with us. She's doing her own thing, and I try to stay out of that.
Yeah, because she
I'm
does
hoping,
yeah, she's got her own
I'm hoping
channel.
that
Yeah.
one day, she comes in and says, I still want to contribute, but it's going to be a little
Mhm.
harder now, because XYZ is happening.
Yep.
Want that
Yep.
down,
Yeah.
but it's for the life of me, I don't understand why it hasn't.
Yeah.
It's just a different world than what it was when I was
Yeah.
younger, and I don't know how people can get to where they want to be,
Yeah.
these days and all. But
Yeah.
the whole thing with the internet and the
Yeah.
success that we've had and everything was really a result of Maggie, who had been absent, the band